The Galactic Federation had seen many things in its eons of existence. They'd explored star systems, discovered countless worlds, and cataloged civilizations from the most primitive to the most sophisticated. Yet Earth, a small, seemingly insignificant planet orbiting an unremarkable star, presented an anomaly they could not ignore. For decades, the Federation had maintained a vast, ever-expanding database, a record of the known universe, designed to guide their interactions with other species. Most entries were simple classifications: non-spacefaring, peaceful, mildly hostile, or technologically undeveloped. But Earth's entry was different. The warning stood out against a backdrop of cold, sterile data, glaring at the Federation like a red flag in the middle of a quiet field. "Don't even think about it," was all it said. This cryptic message, first added centuries ago and updated regularly, had puzzled the Federation's most advanced minds. It was a warning, but not from any one alien species. It was a collective consensus, one shared across countless systems. Yet no one knew why or how it had appeared, nor could anyone explain what it meant. The Federation's High Council convened in response. The leaders of the most powerful species in the galaxy, Pelion, a towering crystalline entity with vast telepathic abilities; Drakes, a cybernetic being with advanced intellect far beyond any organic life form; and Zelvok, a warrior queen from the star system Verath, sat in silent contemplation as their brightest minds worked tirelessly to decode the message. "We can't just ignore this," Pelion said, its voice a harmonic frequency that resonated in the minds of the others. "If it is a genuine warning, Earth could be more dangerous than we thought." Drake's mechanical eyes blinked, analyzing every scrap of data. "The question is why? Why does a primitive species like humans deserve such a warning? What are they hiding?" Zelvok leaned forward, her eyes narrowing. "Perhaps it is not what they are hiding, but what they are capable of. We cannot allow this anomaly to grow unchecked. Earth must be investigated." The decision was unanimous. The Federation would send an elite team of diplomats and researchers to Earth to uncover the truth. The mission would be discreet. No show of force, no aggression. It would simply be a study, an observation. If necessary, they would neutralize any threat that Earth posed before it had the chance to spread. Meanwhile, back on Earth, strange things were happening. Across the globe, people had begun to notice the sudden appearance of strange lights in the sky. At first, they were dismissed as weather phenomena or military exercises, but the pattern was undeniable. Ships, large and imposing, appeared in the atmosphere and hovered just outside Earth's airspace. They didn't land. They didn't communicate. They simply watched. Governments scrambled to explain the phenomenon, but no clear answers came. The U.S. military, along with agencies in China, Russia, and Europe, tracked the ship's movements, but they remained just beyond the reach of Earth's technology. Scientists were baffled. What were they? Why were they here? Dr. Adrian Cross, the leading researcher in extraterrestrial life and the human genome, was among the first to notice a pattern. He had been studying genetic anomalies in humans for years, searching for signs of something hidden within the human genome that could explain humanity's rapid advancements. His team had stumbled upon a theory, an ancient, buried secret within humanity's DNA, a secret that might explain why Earth had been marked by the Federation in the first place. He had a hunch, but even he wasn't prepared for the discovery that would change everything. Dr. Adrian Cross was no stranger to mysteries. For years, he had worked on decoding the hidden anomalies of human evolution, examining everything from unusual genetic patterns to unexplained ancient artifacts. But nothing had ever prepared him for what he and his team were about to uncover. It all began when Cross received an encrypted message from a colleague deep within the Arctic Circle. The message was short, cryptic, and strangely urgent. "We found something." The coordinates were attached, leading to a secluded location beneath the ice. Dr. Cross knew immediately that it wasn't just another discovery of ancient tools or fossilized remains. This was different. He gathered a small team of specialists, each expert in their own field, and they journeyed to the Arctic. After weeks of digging and careful excavation, they finally unearthed a large metallic structure buried deep within the ice, a vessel or artifact, clearly not of human origin. The strange markings on its surface resembled nothing Cross had ever seen. They were intricate, almost like an ancient language, but with patterns that suggested they were far older than any civilization on Earth. As soon as the artifact was exposed to the air, strange energy readings began to spike, and Dr. Cross felt a surge of unease. He had no idea what this object was, but he knew one thing for sure. It was connected to the alien ships hovering above Earth. The Federation's warning was no coincidence. With the help of his team, Cross managed to unlock the artifact's inner chamber, revealing an intricate, glowing crystal. It hummed with a low, resonating frequency that sent chills down the spines of everyone present. The crystal pulsed like a heartbeat, as if it were alive. Cross couldn't understand its full function, but he knew its significance. He began translating the markings, and they slowly pieced together a haunting story. Thousands of years ago, Earth had been visited by advanced alien races, far more powerful than humanity could ever imagine. These aliens had left behind not just technology, but genetic influences. The very reason humanity had been able to rapidly evolve, to break through technological barriers faster than most species in the galaxy, was because their genetic makeup had been subtly altered. Cross's team uncovered data that suggested Earth's human inhabitants had been part of a larger galactic experiment, one aimed at creating a species with immense untapped potential. The aliens had seeded Earth with genetic codes that would lie dormant for centuries. Their purpose? To watch how the species would evolve, and to see if humans could unlock this latent power on their own. The Federation knows this, Cross muttered to himself, piecing the information together. They'd been watching us for centuries, just waiting for the right moment to intervene. As the days passed, Cross continued to dig deeper into the artifact's secrets. The more he uncovered, the more he realized that humanity wasn't simply a product of evolution. It was a product of deliberate alien design. And somewhere, hidden in humanity's genetic code, was a power that could not only rival the Federation, but potentially surpass it. Meanwhile, the presence of the alien ships above Earth continued to grow. They didn't attack, nor did they make any direct contact. They simply observed, hovering silently in the sky. Their very existence cast a shadow over humanity's every move. No one knew who or what they were, but they were here, and they weren't leaving. In a secure, underground facility, Cross made a chilling discovery. His analysis of the data from the artifact revealed that Earth's genetic potential was about to be unlocked, whether humanity was ready or not. People across the globe had already started exhibiting strange abilities, things that couldn't be explained by science. Telepathy, enhanced strength, and the ability to manipulate energy. It was as if humanity had just begun to tap into the dormant power they had been gifted. But there was a catch. The abilities were unstable, unpredictable. The more humans pushed their limits, the more likely it became that the genetic strain would cause catastrophic consequences. Cross realized that this might be the reason why the Federation had marked Earth as a place to avoid. If humanity unlocked its full potential, the galaxy would be forever changed. As the first signs of these powers manifested around the world, Cross knew that humanity was standing on the brink of a transformation they were ill-prepared for. The Federation had made a grave miscalculation. They hadn't underestimated humanity. They hadn't yet seen what humans were truly capable of. The situation on Earth had escalated quickly. What was once a quiet, albeit tense, observation of alien ships hovering in the skies had now become an international crisis. The powers that be, the world's leaders, were scrambling to make sense of the growing threat above them. But the real danger had already started below the surface, hidden in the hearts and minds of the human race. Dr. Adrian Cross had barely slept since the discovery of the alien artifact. The weight of his findings was too much to bear alone, and his anxiety only deepened with each passing hour. The Federation had known about humanity's hidden potential for millennia, and now that the dormant abilities were beginning to manifest, Earth was no longer just a passive subject in the galaxy's great chessboard. It had become a key player in a game humanity had no idea they were even a part of. Xantor, the Federation diplomat, finally made contact. His ship, sleek and silent, descended toward Earth's surface, hovering above the planet's most neutral territory, a large, abandoned island in the Pacific. It had been chosen for its isolation, far from any major population center, so as not to provoke panic. But that didn't stop the rest of the world from watching with bated breath. On Earth, military leaders from around the globe gathered, each watching the arrival with suspicion and fear. They knew little about the alien ships or what their intentions were, but everyone agreed on one thing: Earth had to be prepared for whatever came next. The United Nations, typically fragmented, worked in rare unison, bringing together military experts, scientists, and diplomats, all under one roof. Dr. Cross was there, though he felt like an outsider. His discovery, the ancient artifact, had already stirred up debates. Some believed it could help them communicate with the aliens, while others feared it would only bring them closer to annihilation. Xantor, when he finally stepped out of his ship, was nothing like they had imagined. He wasn't a towering, intimidating figure, but rather a tall, slender being with sharp features and eyes that glowed faintly, as though reflecting a distant star. His body was partially covered in a smooth, reflective exoskeleton that shifted in color depending on his movements. His presence was disconcerting, as if he existed both physically and somehow beyond the tangible world. Despite his calm exterior, the message he brought was unsettling. "You have no idea what you've unleashed," Xantor said, his voice a soft, metallic hum that reverberated in the minds of everyone present. "Your kind has begun to awaken powers that are far beyond your comprehension. The Federation has watched you for centuries, but this—" He paused, almost as if searching for the right words. "This is something new, something dangerous." A murmur spread through the room. The military leaders, ever cautious, stepped forward. General Isaac Garrett, the commanding officer of the U.S. forces, spoke first. "What do you mean by dangerous? If this is about your ships, we're prepared. We'll defend our planet with everything we have." Xantor's eyes flickered with a hint of amusement. "It's not about your weapons, General. You're missing the point. The Federation's message wasn't a threat to you. It was a warning. Earth is unique. You see, your species wasn't supposed to evolve like this. Your potential was meant to be dormant, hidden. The powers you're now experiencing are not your own." They were seated. The room fell silent. Dr. Cross's heart raced. The Federation's warning, "Don't even think about it," wasn't just a threat. It was a cry for help. Humanity had stumbled upon something far more powerful than they could ever imagine. And now, they were a threat not just to themselves, but to the galaxy itself. "You say we were seated?" Dr. Cross asked, his voice steady despite the storm brewing in his mind. "By whom?" Xantor's eyes seemed to flicker in recognition. "The origins of your genetic code are far older than your history suggests. Your species was altered by ancient civilizations long before you even had the ability to comprehend what that meant. The powers you're unlocking now are the result of that intervention. You're saying we were tampered with?" Garrett's voice was edged with disbelief. "Yes," Xantor confirmed. "And now the time has come for you to understand what that means. You must control these powers, or they will destroy you. And if they do not destroy you, they may very well destroy the very fabric of the galaxy." A chill ran through the room. The reality of Xantor's words began to settle in. Humanity had unknowingly become a player in a much larger game, one they had never asked to be part of. They were not merely a species on the rise. They were a potential threat to everything. As Xantor continued, his warning grew even more dire. "The Federation is not the only force watching you. There are others, and they will come if you cannot control the power inside you. The truth had settled over Earth like a heavy fog. Humanity, as it had known itself for centuries, was changing. But the changes were not something people could easily ignore or control. The more they tried to make sense of what was happening, the more the world began to feel unmoored from its foundation. Dr. Adrian Cross spent countless hours trying to unravel the mystery of the human genome, but the more he studied, the more he realized that humanity's evolution had been an experiment far larger than anyone could comprehend. The powers that people had started to manifest, abilities like telepathy, energy manipulation, and even bursts of superhuman strength, were only the beginning. It was as if humanity had unlocked a door they had never known existed, and now they were being forced to walk through it. Across the globe, incidents of unexplained power surge. A young girl in India could move objects with a thought. A soldier in the United States could heal from wounds that should have been fatal. An entire group of workers in Brazil was able to telepathically coordinate, moving with an eerie synchronicity in ways that defied logic. What had once been myth and legend was now becoming reality. As these abilities spread, so did the panic. Governments scrambled to understand the cause, but no answers came. People began to fear their own power, and in some cases, they feared the power of others. Paranoia crept into every corner of society. Was the person sitting next to you at the cafe a telepath? Could your neighbor manipulate fire? No one could be sure anymore, and trust among the world's citizens began to fray. Dr. Cross, despite his growing unease, remained focused on the key question: how could humanity control these powers before they spiraled out of control? He turned to his research on the artifact and the genetic alterations it had revealed. If Earth's powers were the result of an ancient, intentional intervention, could there be a way to understand the mechanism behind it? Was there a pattern? A way to focus the energy without causing catastrophic consequences? But before he could dig deeper, the situation took a darker turn. The Federation had not been idle. While they had tried to negotiate with Earth's leaders, offering advice and warnings, their patience was running thin. The first wave of Federation soldiers, elite warriors bred for intergalactic combat, arrived on Earth's borders, ready to enforce their ultimatum. They didn't want a war. They wanted compliance. But what they found when they landed was something no one had expected. Humans weren't afraid anymore. An elite group of humans, now equipped with incredible abilities, had formed a resistance. It started in small pockets, but as more people developed powers, the movement spread like wildfire. The Federation had misjudged humanity. They had assumed that the ability to harness power would come with the willingness to bow to authority. They were wrong. In New York City, a team of psychics, led by a young woman named Leia, intercepted the Federation's communication signals, using their telepathic abilities to hijack broadcasts and send a single message to the world: we are not afraid. The Federation's ships above Earth grew tense as reports from the surface confirmed that humanity was fighting back, not with weapons, but with the very powers the Federation had feared. Resistance groups sprung up in every nation, and for the first time in a long while, the galaxy's greatest empire found itself at a loss. As chaos spread through Earth's cities, the Federation knew they had no choice but to act decisively. They couldn't risk allowing humanity to grow any stronger. They'd mobilized their forces, preparing to deploy an advanced weapon, one that could subdue Earth's newfound powers once and for all. But as the Federation's forces prepared for the final assault, something unexpected happened. Earth's powers, which had seemed so erratic and unpredictable, began to synchronize. It was as if the collective consciousness of humanity was reaching a tipping point. The more they fought back, the more their powers grew, and they were learning to control them. Dr. Cross watched, both amazed and terrified. It was happening faster than anyone had anticipated. The question wasn't whether humanity could survive the coming war. It was whether humanity could control the power within them before they were consumed by it. And as the Federation's fleets descended upon Earth, Cross realized that the real battle was not between alien invaders and human resistance. The true fight was within humanity itself. Could they master their power? Or would they, like so many before them, be destroyed by it? As the Federation's fleets began to form an imposing blockade around Earth, the situation on the planet reached a boiling point. Humanity's newfound powers had ignited a firestorm, but the true challenge was beginning to reveal itself. While some of the resistance groups thrived, using their abilities to dismantle Federation outposts and intercept communications, the bulk of humanity was still struggling to control what had awakened within them. Dr. Adrian Cross had never imagined that the discovery of the artifact would lead to such chaos. Initially, he had hoped that humanity's powers could be harnessed, but the reality was far more complicated. The artifact had been a key, unlocking genetic potential that was never meant to be realized. And now, humanity was caught in a battle not just with alien forces, but with itself. Laia, the young psychic leader in New York, had become a symbol of hope for the resistance. Her abilities were impressive, but even she struggled with the magnitude of her powers. As her influence grew, so did her sense of responsibility. Her team of telepaths, able to read minds and communicate over vast distances, worked tirelessly to spread information and rally the masses. But no matter how hard they tried, the growing instability of humanity's powers weighed heavily on them all. Meanwhile, the Federation was growing increasingly impatient. Their forces, composed of highly trained soldiers and advanced technologies, had been on standby for weeks, observing the erratic behavior of Earth's inhabitants. They knew that any further delay could result in something even more catastrophic, and their strategy had shifted from containment to annihilation. The Federation's elite warriors, equipped with advanced weaponry and armor that could withstand the powers of a planet like Earth, were preparing for a full assault. But Xanter, the Federation diplomat who had first warned Earth of their potential, knew the consequences would be dire if they attacked without first understanding the true extent of humanity's power. He had long since lost faith in the idea of peaceful coexistence. The alien diplomats had been patient, too patient, and now it seemed the Federation's presence above Earth was an unavoidable precursor to an invasion. But Xanter still couldn't shake the nagging thought. Was it possible that humanity was capable of mastering the powers they had been gifted? He had seen their abilities firsthand, had felt the echoes of their psychic potential. It was a force that was unlike anything the Federation had encountered. On the ground, the resistance had begun to organize a counteroffensive. Armed with nothing but their wits and their newfound abilities, groups of humans began targeting Federation facilities, disabling key systems, and launching guerrilla attacks. The Federation's soldiers, trained in warfare and battle tactics, found themselves outmatched by the sheer unpredictability of human power. Some were telepathically incapacitated, others disoriented by psychic blasts, and a few were even lifted off the ground by sheer force of will. It became clear that the Federation, for all its might, was no longer the most dominant force in the galaxy. Despite the Federation's military superiority, they were unprepared for the raw, untamed power of Earth's inhabitants. The humans weren't just fighting to survive. They were fighting for the right to exist on their own terms, to choose their own path without interference from the galaxies beyond. The desire to control their own destiny, once a distant dream, was now within their grasp. But with the growing resistance, there was also fear. The more humanity's powers expanded, the more dangerous they became. Some began to question whether the true enemy was the Federation, or whether humanity was on the verge of becoming something uncontrollable, something that could threaten not just Earth, but the entire galaxy. As the battle raged on, Dr. Cross began to suspect something even more troubling. His research on the artifact had revealed that Earth's powers weren't merely a genetic gift, they were a signal. The alien races that had engineered humanity's evolution had left behind a calling card, a blueprint for their eventual return. What if humanity wasn't just meant to fight against the Federation? What if they were meant to rise to a much greater purpose? A purpose that would either unite them with the galaxy or destroy it entirely. Cross realized that the Federation wasn't the only force trying to control Earth. Something much older, much more powerful, was watching from the shadows, waiting to see what humanity would do with the powers it had unlocked. As the resistance on Earth continued to grow stronger, so did the pressure from the Federation. It was no longer just a fight for survival. It had become a battle for identity. The Federation had underestimated humanity's resilience and its capacity to wield the powers awakening within them. What had begun as a desperate scramble to control these abilities had turned into a full-scale war for freedom. Yet, amidst the chaos, a far darker force lingered, one that even the Federation had not anticipated. Dr. Adrian Cross, despite his pivotal role in understanding humanity's transformation, felt increasingly disconnected from the events unfolding around him. The discovery of the artifact and the subsequent unraveling of the ancient genetic manipulation had left him with a disturbing realization. Humanity wasn't just an innocent bystander in a galactic game. They were the key to something far greater, a secret that had been hidden for millennia. But what did that mean? Were they meant to lead the galaxy into a new era, or were they destined to destroy it? It was in the middle of one of his late-night research sessions that Cross discovered a chilling piece of information. A faint signal, buried within the ancient data he had uncovered, began to repeat at regular intervals. At first, he thought it was just an error in his analysis, a glitch in the transmission from the artifact. But then it became clear. It wasn't an error at all. It was a message. The message was brief, and it was encoded in a form that Cross had never seen before. But after hours of decoding, he began to piece it together. It was a warning from the ancient beings who had engineered humanity. They had left Earth with a purpose, a plan that was to unfold in the distant future. Their message was not just directed at the Federation, but at humanity itself. "We are coming," the message read, "and you are the key." Cross felt a chill crawl up his spine. The significance of the message was clear. The Federation wasn't the only external force watching humanity's rise. There were others. An ancient race, far older than the Federation, whose influence stretched across the galaxy. They had engineered humanity for a purpose, and now that humanity was awakening, the time had come for the final phase of the plan. As Cross absorbed the implications of this revelation, the sky above Earth grew even darker. The Federation's ships had been joined by a new fleet, this one far larger, far more formidable. The ships didn't belong to the Federation, but to a different, more advanced race. This race, however, had a different agenda. Their ships weren't cloaked in the same metallic sheen as the Federation's. Instead, they seemed to shimmer with an otherworldly energy, like living creatures rather than machines. The new fleet descended into Earth's atmosphere with terrifying precision, drawing closer to the planet's surface. They didn't announce themselves. They didn't make demands. They simply watched, as if waiting for the moment when humanity would finally reveal its true nature. On the ground, the Resistance was faced with a dilemma. They had fought hard against the Federation's military might, but now they were faced with an even greater threat, one that was older, more powerful, and more enigmatic. The humans who had learned to control their newfound abilities found themselves questioning whether they were ready for what was coming. Was this the culmination of their evolution, or had they awakened something far more dangerous than they could handle? Laia, the young psychic leader, could sense the presence of the new fleet. It wasn't just an alien force, it was something far more ancient. She felt the weight of their intentions, their cold, calculating gaze. Her telepathic abilities had grown immensely, but even she couldn't decipher their true motives. She gathered her team, hoping that together they could piece together the mystery. "We need to act fast," Leia said, her voice filled with both determination and uncertainty. "If we wait too long, we may never get the chance to stop them." But as the Resistance prepared for a new battle, they realized that it wasn't just the Federation they needed to defeat. They had unknowingly awakened a force far beyond their control, and this force had been waiting for them to rise to the occasion. Whether humanity would stand a chance against this new power was anyone's guess. Dr. Cross stared up at the skies, his thoughts racing. The message was clear now. Earth was the key to something far greater, something that could alter the balance of the galaxy forever. But was humanity ready for the responsibility? Or were they doomed to become pawns in a game that had been set into motion long before their birth? The tension on Earth was palpable. What had once been a conflict between humanity and the Federation had now escalated into a battle between species, with the very fate of the planet hanging in the balance. The ancient fleet, having arrived from the unknown corners of the galaxy, seemed to bring with it an air of finality. Their ships loomed above Earth like dark shadows, indifferent to the resistance below. Dr. Adrian Cross sat in his lab, staring at the holographic map that displayed the positions of both the Federation's fleet and the new arrivals. The message from the ancient beings still echoed in his mind. "We are coming, and you are the key." But what did it mean? And why now? Why was humanity the catalyst for such a grand, yet ominous, event? The more he tried to piece together the ancient puzzle, the more questions emerged. These new ships, unlike anything humanity had encountered before, were clearly advanced beyond the Federation's technology. But it wasn't just their weaponry that was unsettling. It was the presence they exuded. They didn't seem to be a typical conquering force. They had no immediate intention of attacking. They were waiting. In the streets below, people had begun to sense the change as well. The powers that humanity had unlocked were no longer just abilities. They were becoming a new form of existence. Across the world, entire cities were buzzing with activity, as people trained to harness their abilities. There were rumors of entire communities who had mastered telekinetic fields, others who could alter the very fabric of matter. Humanity was evolving, yes, but not in the ways anyone could have predicted. Laia, who had become the face of the resistance, felt the weight of her power more than anyone. Her telepathic abilities had expanded exponentially. She could sense the thoughts of thousands, hear the collective whispers of the people who believed in her cause, and yet there was still a lingering doubt in her heart. What if this power, this rapid evolution, wasn't meant to be? What if humanity was on the brink of a downfall they could not escape? The Federation, once seen as the dominant force, was now scrambling. Xanter, their diplomat, had tried to convince Earth's leaders that their survival depended on cooperation. But the Federation was divided. Some wanted to make an alliance with the ancient fleet, hoping to form a new galactic order. Others feared the fleet's true intentions and saw humanity's rise as an unplanned threat that needed to be contained at all costs. The Federation's forces, poised for attack, found themselves at a crossroads. If they moved against Earth now, they risked provoking the ancient fleet. But if they waited too long, they might lose control of the situation entirely. And the more they hesitated, the stronger the resistance grew. In a secret meeting within the heart of the Federation's command ship, Xanter addressed his fellow leaders. "We cannot underestimate the power of these humans. They are no longer a fledgling species. They are awakening to something greater, and we do not yet know the consequences. Our only choice is to act, before it's too late." The words echoed in the room, heavy with meaning. But no one had the answers they sought. The Federation was in turmoil, uncertain whether to fight or to negotiate with the new, mysterious force hovering above Earth. Back on Earth, Leah gathered her core team of psychics, energy manipulators, and those who had shown the greatest control over their abilities. She knew the Federation's plans were coming to a head, but the true test lay in the unknown. What did the ancient fleet want, and what role would humanity play in the galaxy's future? "I had visions," Leia said, her voice soft but unwavering. "The others are coming, but they aren't here to destroy us. They're here to test us. This is about more than just surviving the Federation. This is about who we are becoming." Her words were met with a mix of hope and fear. Everyone had felt it. The growing power within them, the pull towards something far greater than their individual selves. It was like humanity was awakening from a long-forgotten dream, but no one knew where this new path would lead. And then, just as the resistance prepared for the inevitable confrontation, the skies above Earth darkened even further. The ancient fleet moved forward, a single massive ship breaking off from the rest. It descended slowly toward Earth, its energy field crackling with raw power. Laia felt it in her bones. This was it. The tipping point. The future of Earth, and of humanity itself, was about to unfold. Whether they would rise to meet their destiny or fall under the weight of their own unchecked power was a question that could no longer be ignored. The time for answers had come. The massive ship from the ancient fleet hovered above Earth, its presence unlike anything humanity had ever experienced. The ship's energy field rippled through the atmosphere, causing the air to hum with a low, resonant frequency. It wasn't just a ship, it was a living entity, pulsing with power. Every human on the planet felt it, as if the ship itself was reaching out, brushing against the minds of those who had unlocked their abilities. Laia stood at the forefront of the resistance, her team by her side. Looking up at the descending ship, the sky above New York had darkened, the shadows cast by the ship now stretching over the city like a blanket. People gathered in the streets, staring up in awe, fear, and anticipation. The time had come for humanity to face the true test of its awakening. "This is it," Laia whispered to her team. "The moment we've been preparing for." Her voice was steady, but her heart raced. She could feel the presence of the ancient fleet ship, and its overwhelming energy was unlike anything she had encountered. It was as though the ship itself was studying them, analyzing their every thought and emotion. The people of Earth were no longer just a species caught in a struggle for survival. They were now a species at a crossroads, with the power to shape the galaxy's future in their hands. Dr. Adrian Cross, deep in his research lab, had been monitoring the situation closely. He knew the ship's arrival marked the culmination of everything he had discovered about the artifact and the genetic alterations embedded within humanity. The ancient beings, the ones who had engineered humanity's rise, were now back to claim their creation. But the question that gnawed at him was this: were they here to guide humanity toward greatness, or were they here to finish what they had started, to take back control of the species they had designed? Cross had a feeling that the answer lay not in the ship itself, but in the people of Earth, their choices, their actions, their ability to wield the powers they had unlocked. As the ancient ship descended further, a communication signal broke through the airwaves, broadcasting across the globe. It wasn't from the Federation, nor was it from any of Earth's governments. It was a transmission from the ancient fleet itself, direct and unfiltered. The voice that emerged from the ship's core was not mechanical, but rather resonated with a calm, almost ethereal presence. It was as if the voice came from everywhere and nowhere at once, echoing inside the minds of every human who could hear it. "We are the Ishar, a race that existed long before the Federation." The voice began. "We are the creators, and we are the watchers. For eons, we have observed the evolution of your species, guided by our design. You were meant to be a key to something far greater than your world. A power that, if used correctly, could alter the very fabric of existence." The voice paused, as if weighing its next words. "You have reached a threshold," it continued. "You have unlocked the potential that we embedded within your genetics. You are no longer just human. You are becoming something more, something that could either save or destroy your galaxy. We have returned to offer you a choice. You may either continue on your path of independence, casting off the chains of your design and risking annihilation in your attempts to control this power, or you may join us in unity, and with our guidance, ascend to your true potential." The words hung in the air, heavy with implication. A choice. Humanity had the power to either embrace its newfound potential and stand on its own, or submit to the ancient beings who offered control, stability, and guidance at the cost of freedom. The message reverberated across the globe, and chaos erupted. Governments scrambled to respond, the Federation's forces prepared for action, and the resistance leaders debated furiously. Each faction believed they knew what was best for the future of humanity, but the choice was clear: continue the fight for freedom, or submit to a higher power that had long controlled their destiny. Laia's thoughts raced. The power within her had grown far beyond what she had ever imagined. She could sense the presence of the Ishar ship, the weight of their offer pressing down on her. Could humanity really go on its own, without the guidance of the ancient creators. Was it worth the risk? She turned to her team, her face set with determination. This is our moment. We have the power to choose our future. And whatever we decide, it has to be our choice, not someone else's. Her voice echoed through the minds of those who could hear her, rallying them to stand together. Earth had reached its tipping point. The power to shape the future of the galaxy, to decide whether humanity would rise or fall, rested in their hands.